The king suddenly comes under attack by a demon. However, after a brutal battle, the king's holy sword is knocked to the ground. Fortunately, the prince manages to pass the sword back to his father just in time. However, the holy sword cuts the prince's palm. The king realizes he's no match for the demon. He urgently tells the prince to flee, but the king falls victim to the demon's brutality. In the end, the king plunges into the lake with the holy sword. As time passes, the holy sword appears before the people once again. Countless people try to pull the sword free, but no one succeeds. Prince Arthur has now grown into a man, but he seems to have lost all memory of his childhood. When Arthur grips the holy sword, the scar on his hand resonates with the blade. Before the astonished eyes of the crowd, Arthur pulls the sword free, but he cannot control the sword's power. Arthur eventually collapses to the ground. When he wakes up again, Arthur finds a mysterious witch beside him. The witch tells Arthur that if he wants to master the holy sword, he must overcome his inner fears. The witch then sends Arthur to the Darklands. This place is filled with terrifying creatures. Although Arthur must endure brutal fights every day, only in such an environment can Arthur truly transform into a warrior. Sure enough, after just a few days, Arthur passes the trial, covered in wounds. But as soon as he emerges, he receives devastating news. The demon has murdered Arthur's foster mother and hasn't even spared his friends. This fills Arthur with immense grief. He believes the holy sword has brought nothing but disaster. So Arthur makes a decision. He hurls the holy sword into the lake. Arthur then collapses in a swamp. Suddenly, a hand grabs Arthur and pulls him into the lake. It turns out to be the Lady of the Lake. The lady shows Arthur a vision of the future. If Arthur doesn't accept the holy sword, the kingdom will suffer brutal destruction at the demon's hands. So Arthur must take up the Sword of Kings. With the lady's help, Arthur finally understands everything. When Arthur sees the demon again, his childhood memories come flooding back. The demon is actually his uncle, who killed Arthur's father to seize the throne. Arthur instantly feels a surge of powerful rage. However, he's still no match for the demon. Arthur is quickly knocked unconscious. He falls back into painful memories. The scene of his father's death appears before him, but Arthur is no longer afraid. The moment the holy sword falls, Arthur catches it just in time. Finally, with his father's encouragement, Arthur bravely accepts the responsibility of the holy sword. At last, Arthur unleashes the sword's full power. He not only effortlessly blocks the demon's attacks, but defeats the demon outright. He finally puts an end to the demon's wicked life. Arthur becomes king with the people's support, but his legend is far from over.